Hey, Utah Mammoth fans, Tusks up, and welcome into your Utah Mammoth Daily update. So we're into the final stretch of camp. Only one more preseason game left to go tonight against the Sharks, and the roster is started to take shape. And the storylines are getting sharper every day. Today we'll talk about what Utah's home win in the preseason, finally, against the Kings, what really showed us, because by now the scoreline's old news, and spotlight Dmitry Simashev's camp rise, dig into the defensive identity being built, if there even is one yet, and finish with the tough roster moves that are hitting now. So let's dive into it. First, Utah's 2-1 win over the Kings Thursday night at the Delta Center. Yes, the Delta Center. I grew up here at Salt Lake City. I'm not going to call it Delta Center. It's the Delta Center. Thursday night was the franchise's first home preseason victory this year, but by the time you hear this, the score itself is old news. So let's talk about what it meant. The real story wasn't just that Utah won, it was how they did it. They leaned on Vitek Vanacek. I've been pronouncing his name wrong this whole time, and you all have probably been shouting at me. It's Vitek Vanacek, who stopped 32 of 33 shots, including a frantic final minute where LA threw everything at the net. You could say kitchen sink if you want to, but they really did throw everything out there. The Mammoth also saw contributions from the middle six, Kevin Stenlund and Lawson Krause producing offense when Keller and Gunther weren't on the score sheet at all. And the penalty kill, still excellent. They killed off big overlapping minors in the second when they were down to 3 men, and now sit at a sterling 18 for 20 in preseason. And that goes from the young guys all the way up to the veterans. That's what matters. Not the win, although that is really nice to have. They will be winless in the preseason. Not in the box score, but the habits. Secondary scoring, reliable goaltending, and special teams execution. Those are the things that translate into the regular season. And Thursday night, in front of the home fans, Utah proved they're starting to find something in there. They're starting to find a little bit of something in there. Simashev, though, let's talk about him. One of the camp storylines that keeps gaining steam is Dmitry Simashev. I'm not sure if you watched the SEG Plus or the Mammoth Plus broadcast of the Kings game, but everybody was gushing about the young Russian. The 6'4" defenseman was a first-round pick by Arizona, and then he came over in the relocation, as we all know, and has been steady all camp long since coming over from the KHL. Coaches love his poise. He doesn't panic with the puck. He uses his reach to break up plays, and his skating is better than you'd expect for someone his size. He's not flashy, and that's a good thing. For a young defenseman, making the simple play is often the hardest skill to master. Simashev is already showing that maturity. Does that mean he's guaranteed a roster spot? Not necessarily. The defense group is crowded with veterans, and the front office may prefer he logs big minutes in Tucson early on. But what's clear is this. Simashev is no longer just a prospect to watch. He's pushing himself into the conversation as a legitimate NHL option. For a team that needs its youth on the back end to balance its aging core, that's not really true, is it, though? The aging veterans that are on the outside of the core, they really need to push those guys to be at the top of their game. That's exactly the kind of development story we want to hear heading into the season. And I don't know if you saw it, but that play, I believe it was in the third period with Dmitry Simashev coming back, tried to cover for a turnover. His poke checking saved a goal. He probably saved 2 goals. So, yeah, I've been very impressed by Dmitry Simashev. I was disappointed to not see Tijiginla in that game against the Kings, but it's part of the rotation, and so we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, I think Dmitry Simashev is going to be in the NHL sooner rather than later. But let's talk about that defense for a little bit. Let's zoom out the lens. The blue line as a whole is starting to take shape, and what we're seeing is a unit that wants to play with structure and pace, but they keep getting caught in between. Mikhail Sergachev is the anchor, as we all know, no question. Add in John Marino, Sean Dursey, Ian Cole, and Nate Schmidt, and you have a mix of puck movers and stay-at-home guys. You also have 2 quarterbacks for the power play in Sergei and Schmidt. That's balance. The addition of big prospects like Simashev and Maverick Lamoureux gives Utah reach and mobility for the future. The question is how they'll blend it. Tourney has made it clear he wants the defense to limit breakdowns, move pucks quickly, and support the offense without leaving Vejmelka hung out to dry. Against LA, we saw glimpses of that. We had a couple of smart clears, sticks in lanes, and they only allowed 1 goal, but they also allowed 33 shots. It's not great. It's not perfect yet, but an identity is forming. If this defense can consistently play fast and disciplined, Utah might be able to climb into the playoff race, even if the scoring depth takes time to catch up. But from what we saw in that game against the Kings, it was the depth that did all the scoring. So maybe we'll see everything we want to see this season. That'd be fantastic. And lastly, let's talk roster moves. So before the game, Utah plays Scott Perunovich and Ben McCartney on waivers to go to Tucson, and these are the tough calls you get in the final days of camp. For Perunovich, it's a reminder of how crowded the left side is. He's got the skill, but with Sergachev, Cole, and Schmidt already in the mix, there just wasn't enough room. For McCartney, it's more about the numbers game. Younger forwards like Daniil Boot and Cole Baudouin are making noise, and the competition for depth is fierce. Moves like this also tell us the staff is narrowing down to its trusted group. Each waiver, each reassignment gets them closer to the opening night roster. For players, it's heartbreak for sure. But for the team, it's progress. And for fans, it's a sign that the games that matter, they're almost here. And there are also rumblings that Maverick Lamoureux is going to be sent down as well. Again, that's just because of how many talented defensemen there are. And that's not even counting Juuso Välimäki coming back from his torn ACL. So there are going to be a lot of decisions that will need to be made by the front office about the blue line, especially when you got guys like Dmitry Simishev, even Artem Duda, banging at the door to come in. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens as we move along this season. And that'll wrap up today's Utah Mammoth Daily. Thursday's win showed the right habits. Simishev is making his case on the blue line to everybody. Utah's defense is finding its identity, but not as quickly as I would like. And the tough roster decisions are starting to land. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you back here tomorrow as we get closer and closer to opening night puck drop. Tusks up.